Hey, this is the Spiritable podcast. It's hosted by myself, Luke David, and my sweet baby boy, Richard Glenn. Richard is getting his master's in theology, and I have absolutely no marketable skills and a few concerning moles. We are talking about spirituality and everyday life struggles through our super non-traditional Christian background, and we're going to drag in some guests from different backgrounds to get their perspective and some variety. It's stupid that these things can't be fun and casual to talk about, so we're just going to do that ourselves. We just started, so we have like 0 people listening or watching, but we are having a blast anyway. Bam, here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Spiritable podcast, and we are here with our very special guest, Chelsea. What's your last name? And
Thompson.
Who are you?
Thompson.
Okay, and tell us the stats about you. If you were to make a dating profile, what would your blurb be?
Yes. Hi, my name is Chelsea Rose Thompson. I use the middle name because it makes me more unique. Do I look
more
into the
easily
camera?
find
That's our audience right there. Hi, audience. Look at them. Make eye contact. Don't be rude.
Hi.
I'm still so aggressive.
I am a Taurus. I graduated from Muhlenberg College in 2015. Go Mules. I have a double degree in theater and psychology, so I'm a little crazy. I have 2 little brothers. What?
Sorry, look, I just did a thing. It's not about you.
I know. I have 2 little brothers, 13 and 17. My parents and youngest brother live in Australia. That's a fun fact.
So this would all go on your dating profile? You're just gonna list off
your whole life story.
I don't. I've never really had a long walk on the beach. And I also do circus arts and aerial performing in my spare time.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
And you're also a generally spiritual person? Question mark.
Used to be more so. Growing up.
I think a lot of people have that sort of path. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of reconnected to it once my dad became a minister.
Because you had to.
Not because I had to. He forced us to go to church a little bit more, but also, trying to get back to it more.
Nice. And Chelsea and I met because we went to a summer camp school thing over in England, which was really sweet. And then we also did a play together. I don't know if you know plays. Richard. Yeah.
We've met a couple. Well,
I know you through friends.
Yeah. She's dating one of our friends, so...
Hi.
Hey, Phoenix.
And Chelsea is going to help us figure out some spiritual or general issues today.
You want to tell the story of how you ended up being a guest on our podcast today?
I would love to. So, we were at a party. What was it?
It was a cast party. It was after our show.
Okay. After a cast party for Luke's show. And as it happens, you get very drunk at these kinds of parties. And I heard one of you say something about a podcast, and I just went, "Wait, you guys have a podcast?" And they went, "Yeah, what are you doing next Tuesday, Wednesday?" I went, "Nothing. Want to be a guest?" And I was like, "No, wait. Nothing."
Are you drunk now?
I'm just really nervous. I don't do this. I was like, "Nothing. You guys said, want to be a guest?" And I was like, "Sure." And then, yeah, that's what happened.
There she is.
And there she is.
So how's that?
I think Ben and I were talking generally about our podcast and just trying to make sure that everyone was listening to it, just shamelessly plugging what we're doing. And then we were like, "Chelsea, you've listened to it, right?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah." And we're like, "You're going to be on it. Yeah." And then you're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
There she is.
And then the next morning, I kind of barely remember something about a podcast being mentioned the night before. And then my phone buzzed, and I was like, "Oh, right, it was true."
And all our dreams became true.
Dreams came true.
All right, friends, we're gonna do this. We're gonna draw something out of this hat, and we're gonna talk about it. Thwop! Thank you, firemen, for your service. Thoughts on ghosts? Question mark. And general spookiness. Halloween is coming up, so
Halloween topic.
Yeah, there's some spiritual correlation with.
Well, for our audience, Halloween is probably like today.
Maybe so. Maybe we'll release this on Halloween. That'd be fun. So, thoughts on ghosts? Thoughts on general spookiness revolving around Halloween? Why So are there ghosts? Let's just start with that. Let's just start with are there ghosts?
Yes.
Are there
Oh,
ghosts?
Chelsea, very strong,
Chelsea's a solid
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Do you have experience?
let's-
Have you had ghost
Only because
experience?
a person I very much trust has seen a ghost, my father.
Really?
And I feel like he's a very no-nonsense, magic doesn't exist person. And he wouldn't lie to me. I grew up in a kind of old house. It was built, I guess, in Victorian era, like late 1800s.
So automatically haunted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
10 out of 10
Yeah.
haunted.
And he said, I was asking him, Dad, have you ever seen a ghost? And he said, yep. I didn't. He just said, yep, right there. And he was in the kitchen one day, kind of felt a chill, looked to his right, and there's a woman in like old Victorian garb. And she was just kind of standing there, chilling. And then he was like, okay. And I don't really remember if she like disappeared or walked away. But that's something that always interests me with ghost stories. Like, how does the ghost leave? Do you look away and it's gone? Or does it leave?
Does it exit
and
through a wall or a
does
door,
it attack
like,
you?
classic?
Yeah. Or does it just kind of like disappear? Go down or up?
That's fascinating. Richard's had some fun ghost stories.
Yeah, my mom had one that was, she didn't see a ghost, but she had a weird experience. So one time she came to pick me up from school, and on the way back, she was telling me about something that happened to her right before she left, and she was like visibly shaking. We almost had to pull off the road because she was like getting worked up talking about it. So in my house that I grew up in, the bathroom is right at the top of the stairs. And so she was in the bathroom, like getting ready to go, and suddenly she hears footsteps on our stairs, and she's like, I'm the only one home. And then it's suddenly like, boom, 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 like loud footsteps up our stairs. She can see straight down our stairs. There's nothing there. And then the footsteps stop like right in front of her, and she just felt like this immense, angry presence, and just felt like not really... partially really terrified, but also like really, really angry herself, and didn't really know where it was coming from, but just like was just really freaked out about it. So that was weird.
My question is, why does your mother go to the bathroom with the door open?
I don't think she was going to the bathroom. I think she was getting ready to go, like putting on makeup or something, or like washing her hands. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Things moms do before they pick their kids up from school. I don't know.
That's another thing I hear that's kind of interesting. Like when they either feel a presence that claim they've seen a ghost, people say they get a feeling around them. It's usually not just I saw it, and that kind of goes into more like demon-y for me, as opposed to just a dead person who's still in the house.
You mean that the feeling associated with it?
Yeah.
Because I think the feelings are like, I would say like probably 75% of the time a bad or an angry feeling or a scared or cold.
And it's not just I'm scared because I'm seeing a ghost. It's like, oh, maybe I'm feeling what the ghost is feeling. How the heck is that happening?
Yeah.
Well, I have thoughts about that. First of all, I think in terms of whether it's always bad, I think a lot of people, after someone they love passes away, they see them or hear them or things like that.
But I'm talking about like, I feel like these are more around like random ghost encounters.
Well, I feel like it's all part of the same thing. I mean, it's still a ghost, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to a 75-year-old woman. I spent time in an old folks home recently, like last year. Spent a bunch of time in there.
Desperately single.
I'm engaged, Luke. What does that mean? Do you know something I don't know?
I was going for comedy and it sucked.
Hey, you got there. Everyone's laughing. But she was talking about how her husband passed away, and she was feeling really, really distraught about it. And then he appeared to her and was like, "Hey, I'm okay, and I'm waiting, and take as long as you need, because I'll be here." And that was just like a really cool story to hear, and really like touched me as someone who believes in heaven. That was really cool.
But also, let's play the cynical card. How do we know that's true? Like, it's so interesting to back it up a level. Like, so many people have these ghost experiences or extra supernatural experiences, but tons of people still don't believe in ghosts or believe that supernatural things happen or exist.
Yeah.
So,
Or was it a very vivid dream
yeah,
that this woman
I
had?
mean, that would be one explanation for it.
You know, sometimes when I'm stressed or like worried about something, I'll have a dream directly related to that. Sometimes it's vivid, sometimes it's very abstract, and sometimes more so it's a terrible nightmare. But sometimes it's a bit like, hey, it gives you this feeling of that thing you were worried about, it's gonna be fine. So maybe when you're thinking about the death of a loved one, that's what your subconscious is suddenly like, you need this. We're gonna have him come to you and say it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think at the very least, there's a lot of people that think they've seen ghosts. I don't think there's a massive community of people that are all in on a big lie. I just find that kind of hard to believe. And I've had a couple weird experiences that are like not.
Are you talking personally? Or?
Yeah, personally. That aren't like enough for me to be like, I've definitely seen a ghost, but things where I'm pretty sure I saw something and then it's gone. Like one time, a really spooky one. I was walking home. This is a really like...
Spook alert.
Spook alert. If you get spooked easily, mute it until I give you a thumbs up. But it was like a really stereotypical ghost story. I was walking home at like 1 a.m. with a bunch of my friends, and in my neighborhood there are playgrounds everywhere. Within a mile radius of my house, I counted 36 playgrounds once. It's ridiculous. I don't know what my neighborhood's thinking, but they just put playgrounds everywhere.
Maybe they're thinking of the children.
There are too many. As a child growing up, there were too many playgrounds. Most of them are abandoned. But we were walking home, and there's a swing set in the playground, and there's a little kid swinging on the swings. And I turned to my friends, I'm like, why is there a kid up at this hour? At the time I was like, probably 13, so. But it was like, looked like a small child. And I was like, why is there a kid up at this hour? And I turned back, and there's no kid, and one swing is still, and one swing is moving. Wow. And I was like, oh.
He just
a weird specific breeze, I guess. But like, and I was also very tired, and there's a lot of plausible deniability about it in my mind. So I wouldn't be like, yes, I've definitely seen a ghost. See how I work that back in? You're good. No more spooks. But I would say it was weird, and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How do ghosts exist then? Like, how do we interact with them? Why do some people see them? Why do some people not see them? What's like a spiritual explanation for the existence of ghosts? I have my own thoughts, but as our theologue in training, as our minister to be, maybe Richard has some specific thoughts on it.
I think there are a lot that goes into that. One thing that we were talking about earlier was when you were talking about feeling the presence of ghosts nearby. I don't actually think that's that weird, because I think we do that with people that are alive too. I think there are times where if someone's really, really mad and they walk into a room, before you even see them, you're like, ugh. And then you turn and you're like, oh, they're like visibly pissed off. And so I think there's something
empathy,
unsaid that connects people. And I think that's a spiritual thing. My religious background teaches there's a spiritual world where people go and they die, but that it's not actually, you don't actually go there, you are there right now.
You mean like us right now are in the spiritual world?
Yeah. But we're just not conscious of it.
And we can't see it.
Yeah.
Obviously. Unless.
So there is a spiritual reality to things. And I think like when you love someone, that's a spiritual reality. And there are a lot of spiritual things. Our mind we can't touch our mind. And I don't think it's just our brain firing impulses. That's a spiritual thing that affects us. So I think spirituality and a spiritual world is very present with us. We just often get distracted and are like, if I can't grab it, if I can't see it, it's not real. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really easy to do. I'm not surprised that people do that, because your senses are how you take in basically everything. And so if you don't take something in through your senses, it's hard to know that it exists.
But so I believe that I could have that a person could see a ghost. I believe that could happen. I believe that there are spiritual presences that are a little bit more tangible to us as people. But I've never seen anything. So why do some people see things but I don't? I've always been a little bit bummed out that I've never seen a ghost or anything because I've really wanted to. But at the same time, like, I'm not trying to mess with stuff that's really? No. Oh, it'd be so interesting. But I feel like a lot of things people see aren't usually good. So I'm not trying to like invite in some evil stuff. But I'd love, I don't know, seeing a ghost would be so cool. But I've never had that. So I'm willing / eager to, but hasn't happened. So why hasn't it happened?
Any ghosts are listening.
If any ghosts
are
subscribe.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button. Ghosts.
Go right through it.
They'll try. Oh no. My finger's going right to the button.
That counts.
It's a good bit. It's a good bit. Well done, Chelsea.
Trying really hard. I guess if it seemed harmless, I would love to see. I'm not going to say love. I would like to see a ghost, but why, when I hear stories, they're always creepy or like 100 years old? Why can't it be like somebody who died a few days ago? They're in jeans. They've got
jeans specifically. They're wearing 501 Levi's. I feel safe.
I don't know. Maybe like a hipster.
That's a hip ghost I can relate to.
And they're just like
ghost at all.
And they just kind of lean over and they're just like, "Oh, what's up?"
Being dead. It's eight.
Yeah, 4 out of 10.
Yeah, a super casual ghost.
So, but I guess I'm asking: are some people more spiritually aware than others? And like, I consider myself a pretty spiritually aware person. Like, I'm pretty empathetic and pretty like in tune with that sort of thing.
Why haven't you seen a ghost?
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
You're the perfect candidate.
I'm the perfect candidate, ghost. Accept me, please.
So, another thing that my religious background talks about is the idea of the connection between freedom and religion. And a lot of people don't believe in religion because you can't prove any of it. Well, and if you could prove it, it'd be called science. It wouldn't be called religion. You know, like, I think sort of innately in its definition it's a belief. And I think that's really essential because if God appeared to everyone and was like, "Hey, I'm God. You should do what I say because I'm all powerful and I've got good ideas," people would be like, "Well, that's the choice. That's obviously what we got to do." And when people are obligated to do something or feel forced into doing something, that's not really their choice. They're not choosing that from themselves. They're not really loving that.
But regardless, some people do see things. So how would that not coerce their quote-unquote freedom as much as it coerces my freedom?
So I think if people already believe so much that they're like, yeah, of course. I think those are the kind of people.
But like
I mean, maybe. I don't know. But maybe those are the kind of people that can see stuff. People that are like, I 100% believe in ghosts. And I don't 100% believe in ghosts. I'm like, yeah, probs. But like, I can't really all the way believe.
So I think maybe like, sorry.
No, go for it.
So maybe like the more one person believes in ghosts, the more likely they are to associate either like hearing footsteps, hearing a sound with ghosts, seeing something, you know, and like you see something out of the corner of your eye, that kind of plays tricks on you.
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Oh, it was a ghost."
Could definitely be like confirmation bias.
Yeah, that's the word.
I was working in my office earlier, and it was dark, and I had one little lamp on, so it was very dimly lit. And I stood up to leave, and didn't realize that my headphones were like hanging off off the desk, and my chair pulled off the headphones, and they fell to the floor. And I thought it was a black cat, and I freaked out. I was like, "There's a cat in my room!" Ah! So scared. I was ready to attribute it to like supernatural causes or something like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't. I don't know. I also think that.
Why don't you just get a Ouija board, Luke?
Oh, please no. Please no. Everyone listening, do not ever try a Ouija board. I've heard nothing but bad things come out of those kinds of experiences. My mom's sisters, my aunts, used to lock her in like a little cupboard with a Ouija board. No. Just would shut her in there and like lock her as a small child.
Siblings are so messed up. That's horrible.
Siblings? We never did that.
Oh,
but also like to this day, I know the cupboard where they locked my mother in there. I know where it is in my grandma's house, and the whole second floor is the creepiest just feeling place I've ever been in, like in my whole life. I'll step foot up there and just immediately feel like like chills and like someone's watching me. My family jokes about the ghost Frank that lives up there. Like he's fine. He's just chilling. He doesn't do anything. I've never seen him, but oh man, it's so creepy up there.
When we were juniors, we went to high school together, and we were both juniors. We lived in a high school dorm, and some of the seniors. You remember when some of the seniors did a Ouija board? And I would say most of these seniors were people that were like very skeptical going into it. They were "This is stupid."
Kind of rough, kind of gruff people.
Like very much like going and disprove it, because one of the people that was in charge of the dorm, the housemasters, was very adamant that they shouldn't do it and that it was bad and that the spiritual world existed. And if you did that, you were opening a door you couldn't close, and like very adamant, like, don't do this. And they were like, puh, and did it. And I was like eager to hear, they like did it one night at like 1 a.m. or like the stroke of midnight or whatever, just to like really commit. And the next day I was like eager to hear them talk about how dumb it was. And I went up to talk to them, and all of them were like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, like, don't ask me.
Like, and to this day, I don't really know what happened. I got one of them to open up a little bit, and they said that something definitely talked to them and repeatedly was telling them to kill each other.
Yeah,
like,
they told them to stab each other. They're like, get a knife, stab the other guy.
Like, very, like,
Spook
blatant,
alert!
Like, kill them.
You missed it.
Oh, I didn't do the spook. I'm so sorry, audience. Thumbs down. Nice.
I'm gonna get to make a spook alert graphic.
Ben.
Behind the camera.
Please, how many times do you have to tell you?
Behind the oh my gosh. Edit your voice out.
Yeah, I think there's something there with Ouija boards, especially when you're inviting in something. And this is why I don't actively like try to do these sort of things, because I think that when you are really planning and trying to invite spirits to interact with you, the ones that are going to interact with you are not good spirits.
Yeah.
I have a...
Because I think the ones that want to like mess with our freedom in the way that you were putting it, Richard, the ones that want to kind of coerce our feelings or our choices are things that are bad. Like no good thing is going to want to come in there and take away our freedom, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I have a weird hatred of Ouija boards, mainly because I just don't like giving that much power to a slab of wood. Why? That's why I think it's bogus. But then I hear stories like that, and I'm very torn. But I don't want to give that much power to an inanimate object.
Yeah, I really want to do it with like 3 people that I trust so much not to move it. And be like, let's all just put our hands on a piece of wood, and then we'll pick our hands off and nothing will move. And like, I'm so sure that it's not real,
You are?
but not sure enough to try.
Really? Are you so sure that you would do that?
All it
I'm
takes
not.
No.
I'm not.
It's too
I trust
spooky.
myself. It's too
It's
spooky.
too
Spook alert. Wait, pause. Spook alert. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I believe enough that it could happen, but I'm solid that I know I wouldn't move it. Guys, are we going to do a Ouija board right now on camera? All right, let's get a slab. Let's find a piece of
We're
paper.
not gonna do a Ouija
I'm kidding.
board.
I'm kidding. I
You're
did.
so-
Chelsea's
Okay,
visibly
well, okay,
shook.
but what?
You shook, dog.
Hold on. Okay,
Sure.
but back to my inanimate object theory, if we can call it that. What makes a devil spirit, a bad spirit down there or around here go, oh, those kids have a slab of wood. Let me go mess with them. Or I can't.
What if we're in physical proximity to spirits at all times?
Yeah, okay. Yes.
And what if where we're at emotionally and spiritually at the moment attracts the same sort of spirits that are feeling those same things?
Okay,
Or
but
like,
why don't they just whisper in your ear?
Well, but I think the
Why's
thing
it gotta be
is,
a Ouija board?
I think the thing about Ouija boards, where if you did a Ouija board while like super happy, I have never heard a story of people being a Ouija board and be like, I just had a great chat with a good old friend spirit. His name was
Yeah.
Greg. He was a great dude. We talked about similar interests.
Start on the 1920s.
We actually had a nice
weird
date.
time.
We're gonna Ouija board next weekend. It was great. So I think that like presence of bad spirits, whatever that means, and I think the reason why a Ouija board is particular, like has a particular draw, gets back to my idea about freedom. Because if there are 5 people all with their hands and theoretically none of them move it, all of them can believe that someone else moved it. They're not like, I must now believe that a spirit did this. They're like, no, one of you did.
Oh, that's really interesting. I never really framed it like that.
And I think that's
Oh yeah.
like, if that theory is correct, that's why you can't do a Ouija board by yourself. Because spirits are like, well, now he's going to know.
Well, and again, we're not talking about physical freedom, obviously. We're talking about like a belief
Freedom of belief.
a mental.
Like, you can always, and I think the same thing, like that freedom of belief goes to religion as well. Like, that's why any sort of religious experience that someone has, someone can be like, well, that was just science in this way or that. Because if someone had a religious experience that could be proven, everyone would be like, well, that's the right religion.
Right.
And that, like,
And that shuts down the game.
yeah.
And then we're just little robots at that point. Whew, boy. Now I don't want to... too much ghost talk. Now I'm worried. Tonight.
Break the costume off.
Let's
I wanna
take a break.
walk
to
to my car.
Awkward segue alert. We're now in Halloween costumes because 'tis the season.
I'm trying my best to look like the woman that Chelsea's dad saw. Here I am in my nightgown. It is so tight. I'm only halfway zipped up back here. I don't know how anyone could fit in this.
And
I'm not an overweight person.
And I'm premiering in a new anime show. Halloween
Dragon Fierce Halloween Boy.
with a bow tie.
I watch it.
Bowtie Dreamers.
Bow tie dreamers. All right, so let's get back to the topic at hand. We're talking about ghosts a bunch. Now I'm curious about like the fascination behind not only ghosts but Halloween in general. Like, why do people like watching slasher movies and horror movies? Why do people, I guess, like being scared in general around this time of year? Thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think this related back to the whole ghost thing, like why people would do Ouija boards, why some people want to see ghosts, and we're talking about not wanting to see ghosts because it scares us and because they normally have like a fearful presence. But then why do we invite that same energy, that same presence in while watching horror movies? I personally don't like horror movies, and I'm willing to go into my kind of outlandish and unpopular opinion about why I don't like
I don't like
them.
horror movies because I want to watch something that makes me happy. That's the same reason why I don't like sad movies, though. So like,
Oh.
I don't know why would I want a sad
I'll watch
ending
a
in a movie.
sad movie.
No, I want to come out. If I'm gonna commit like 2 hours to an experience, I want to come out of it smiling.
My outlandish belief is basically that the reason that when we are scared, it is because, talking about spirits before, there are spirits around us that are trying to scare us and are successful. And so I think if you believe that heaven and hell exist and that spirits can be present with us and affect our state, our mood, then watching a horror movie is like, you know what I want? Bunch of evil things around me. Let's get that going. Let's get a party of evil things all hanging out with me. And that's why I don't like them. Also, because they're scary and I don't want to be scared.
But I feel like people's intention watching something like that isn't like inviting those evil
Well,
spirits.
of course not.
But that is your intention when you're doing like a Ouija board. When you're watching a horror movie or something, I'm assuming most people are just like, this gives me an adrenaline rush. And it's fun to freak out a little bit and get all...
Especially with
excited.
friends, like a fun bonding
Yeah.
thing. Like, oh, that was so
Yeah.
scary. Which, like, I totally see. And Luke and I went and saw a horror movie
in
a
theater.
while ago, like
Yeah.
6 months ago. The
Hereditary.
movie Hereditary with two friends of ours. And it wasn't that scary, I thought.
So, because of your opinions about why people watch horror movies and the side effects that can have, are you going to be one of those parents who like doesn't let their kids watch horror movies because they're like, you're inviting evil spirits into your mind when you're watching this? Rah.
Well, I generally think I'm not going to be that strict a parent. So probably not when they're little, but once they're like a teenager.
Well, they can't have opinions when they're little yet.
Little children do have opinions. They just don't matter.
Oh, I'm thinking
yet.
of like
I
baby.
mean, like babies.
No, you stay there. Don't argue with your father.
No, you may not watch that. But yeah, I think by the time my kids are teenagers, I'm like, well, you can decide that for yourself. Do what you got to do. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be a very like.
I wonder how many times
Relaxed
people
parent.
have watched like a horror movie and then had some sort of dark spiritual experience afterward.
I wonder.
'Cause I feel-
Comment
yeah.
below.
Ooh, yeah. I
Yeah.
would love that. Oh, I don't love that. The little point down vlogger thing. But I would love to hear ghost stories in the comment section. All right, we're gonna move into rapid fire question time. What's your favorite thing about Halloween? Chelsea,
Dressing up.
Richard,
Halloween parties.
parties in general. Nice. What's your favorite Halloween costume that you've ever had? Chelsea.
Pass. Hold on. Let me think.
Bad answer.
I
Richard.
Probably once I started doing couples costumes with Sonia. That's been fun. I'm sorry, I care about someone. I were Captain Hook and Smee last year. That was really
Good.
fun.
That's good.
Being Captain Hook was fun, but a whole lot.
Yeah.
It was like the big hat and the
All right,
hook.
enough from you. Back to Chelsea.
Cool,
Frodo.
fine.
Frodo?
My entire friend group went as the Fellowship of the Ring. And we had one extra, and so she was the Eye of Sauron.
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay. I dressed up as Gandalf one time. I was in like first grade, and we were doing. My school used to do a little like Halloween parade march around the town. We'd go to the old folks' home. Went to the old folks' home, and I had my staff and everything. And one old guy was like, "It's Moses," and I was like, "Sure."
We'll go with that.
No, my Gandalf was a dope costume though. That was great. Favorite Halloween candy?
Wait.
Richard.
What's your favorite thing about Halloween, Luke?
I'm
You have
asking
to
questions. I can't
No,
answer
Do
my
you have
own
to answer them too?
Yeah, you do.
There you go, Gandalf. Bam, done.
That's not your favorite
Gandalf's
thing
your
about
favorite
Halloween.
thing about
Well, that was, you asked. I thought you were talking about the second question. Favorite thing about Halloween would be how it brings the neighborhood and community together.
Oh, that's cute. Candy, go.
Reese's.
Chelsea. Ooh, that's a great answer.
What? No.
Luke.
Ooh, there are too many Reese's to pick from. my
Like
dear
when they
friend.
come out with the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lantern
Those are
ones.
always better than
Yeah.
the regular ones.
I feel like they're.
Like the Easter bunny ones, the tree ones.
I feel like it's to the peanut butter chocolate ratios off with those.
Oh no, it's because it's more peanut butter. And I
Yeah.
like that.
See, I don't.
Do you like the little mini Reese's?
Those
Not-
are those
not
are too.
pieces,
Those are not
but-
enough peanut butter.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah.
the normal Reese's cup.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
the ideal
True.
proportion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's true.
Classic.
That's true.
My favorite Halloween candy is probably Mr. Good Bars.
Underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated candy.
So good.
I can
Don't make that
Wait.
face
Just
behind the
peanuts and
camera,
chocolate.
Ben.
Okay.
That's some weak shit.
Ooh, boo.
Wow, they're delicious, and you're wrong. Luke,
Reese's Sticks.
it's not a Halloween candy.
What? Yeah, it is.
Sticks?
I'm not
Did
gonna
you
say
go to the
candy corn.
Do you go to the door and be like, "Can I have something?" They give you Reese's sticks. Has it ever happened?
It happened a couple times, and it was great when it happened. Last question. Here we go. Again, we're on lighthearted Halloween theme. Chelsea, what is your favorite spiritual belief?
Got her. Boom.
Boom.
Treat others as you wish to be treated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice.
It's a pretty
Simple.
solid one.
Simple.
How does that show up in your life? How does that?
Oh, we're
something
not
like-
going rapid fire anymore.
No,
I thought I would just say it and
I'm
move
stepping
on.
back from the rapid fire. I always think it's interesting hearing what people's favorite like fundamental belief is, or something that they like think about every day, or that like guides their life. So I'm always curious what people's like big thing is.
That was nice though. I feel like I didn't.
If you had a room to think about it, you
yeah. Yeah, because sometimes, like I said in the very beginning, I'm trying to become more spiritual, but sometimes when I think about going back into that life, that world that was so much a part of me, it really almost gives me a headache, just because I think of, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Am I going to do it right? Is there a right way? And then I just start overthinking, but that's just me.
What do you mean? Like, is there a right way to like get back into being a like spiritual person?
Yeah, or is there a right way to have like a quarter life crisis of I kind of left my spirituality not behind, but I wasn't thinking about it as actively as I used to be, and then I kind of first beat myself up over that, and then but then that just gets in the way of the next step, kind
Right.
of. So then I just go back to basics, like, okay, why do you want to be more spiritual? And then half of it is definitely family, community is really bound in it, and then the other half is I just want to be a good person. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's the first step you can take to that? Okay, be a good person. What does that mean? And then to simplify it completely, where I can like take my breath, is treat others as you would like to be treated.
Nice.
And it ties it up in a nice ribbon, and I can start my day.
That's good. So do you see yourself like taking steps to like do that stuff? Because it is a hard thing. Like Richard and I were actually talking about this last week, but like when you do something for so long and then stop doing it, I get to a point where I'm like, well, I didn't do it for 1 week. Now I'm never going to be able to do it again because I forgot this one time. So it's often hard to jump back into stuff like that. So I understand that.
Yeah, and also like being an adult and nobody's telling me to go to church, nobody's telling me to read the Bible anymore. I guess I kind of took that for granted for a while, and then when it was never forced upon me. That's too strong. When it's not part of a day that was planned for me, I wasn't putting it in for myself, if that makes sense.
No.
And
I mean, I tell myself to like read the Bible or like read this or that or meditate, and it's hard to do. Or even like to pray. It's just I find difficulty making time for those sort of things.
Yeah, or
but
like
I objectively am like, oh, I should be doing this.
Luke,
Yeah.
what's your favorite spiritual idea, or one that's
Have we talked about that before?
well, what's one that's like fun for you right now?
Right now, I'm really digging there are many paths that lead to happiness and spiritual fulfillment, in that there are answers that are better than others, but it's not like there's one right path and all the other ones are the wrong path. Like there are some paths that are like slightly more aligned than others, but like people find happiness in many different ways. And I feel like that's just really optimistic, and it brings me up when I think about like all the like bad stuff that's going on out there, or like people who have different opinions or beliefs about things. And like at the end of the day, as long as we're trying to be good people and living a good life and trying to put out good in the world and following the truth that we believe, we're gonna end up in a good place. And I think that's really enheartening and beautiful in a way. So that's my favorite current one. I have lots of different ones that I like specifically, but Richard, what's like a good theological one that you're digging these days?
Good,
because mine was a little bit universalist, but
interesting. Well, we were talking about temptation in class the other day, and that's often a word we use, like, oh, I was really tempted to do that or tempted to do this. But theologically, that word is really like when we're trying to be a good person and we're having a really tough time, we're having a real battle and fight inside our minds about like sticking with something. And just the idea that temptation is not a sign that you're a bad person. It's a sign that you committed to being a good person, because you only feel tempted to do a bad thing because you've decided to do a good thing. If you just weren't going to do a good thing, then that's not temptation. You're just doing bad stuff. So temptation is, when you get temptation, it's really a sign that you're working hard to be a good person. And so I think a lot of people have guilt around temptation, this idea like, wow, why do I even want to do that? Like, why is this even a fight for me? Like, that's so messed up that I even want to do that.
That's when it's a problem.
Yeah, but the fact that it is a fight means that you don't want to do it. And we can feel like part of us wants to do it, but the part of us that's real is the part that we decide, the part that we choose, the person we choose to be. And there's always going to be influences telling us to do different things. Getting back to the idea of spirits, I think that's an influence.
So you mean like the real part of us, as in like our spiritual selves?
The part of us that matters.
Yeah,
I mean,
like our soul.
The other day I had a thought, someone had a water bottle, and I had a random thought like, slap that out of their hands. And I was like, a weird, aggressive thought I just had. But like, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I'm such a horrible person. I was like, okay, that's a thought. I don't know where that came from. It's not me. And so sometimes I think we can think things that aren't us.
Don't believe everything you think, man. Oh, critical.
So yeah, that idea that like when you're really struggling with something, it's because you're working on being a good person. So don't beat yourself up about that. See that as an opportunity to reaffirm how you want to live. It's really cool.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
I so remember having that, like obviously there's like the developmental stages.
We got there.
Developmental stages that one goes through. And like I could list off from like a textbook point of view what those are, but one that sticks out to me when I was little was having that feeling of, oh my gosh, I wanted to do this bad thing. Am I a bad person? And that was kind of maybe around 6, 7, 8, sort of, for me. And that was kind of my first taste of like wanting to be a good person, or knowing that I could be a bad person.
Yeah, I think it's really, and this again could be a whole other topic, but like it's really important for us to realize that we are not the things we think, and we are not the momentary actions that we do. We're a built up of repetition of choices that we've made. Like if you do one bad thing, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. If you do one good thing, it doesn't mean you're a good person. It's what you stick to and decide to make your life that makes who you are. I think that's really empowering.
But I also think that who we are isn't just like a book of all the things we've done. Because I think there are people that for a long time do bad things and then realize how bad it is and make a change. And it's not like you can never get rid of that. It's not like, well, remember those 50 years you spent doing bad stuff? Mm-hmm. Too bad, you're done.
Well, I think in that case, it's something where like, if we're looking at in this book analogy, the font of that becomes smaller, and your new chapters are in a bigger font and are more important.
I think in the same way you can form habits, you can unform habits. And I think a lot of what we are spiritual habits that we formed, like habits of honesty or dishonesty. Dishonesty. Habits of kindness or anger. Habits of, the list goes on and on. And so I think that just because we are a way doesn't mean that, man, I messed up that one time, that's always going to be written in my book. Like, I think you can pretty effectively get rid of stuff if you work
right.
at it.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by like the momentary decisions and momentary actions we do. One thing doesn't define you.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool stuff. Well, do we have any more thoughts about spookiness, about Halloween? Should we wrap up our Halloween episode here?
Stay safe this Halloween. Make good choices. Get an Uber.
But thanks for being on our podcast anyway.
Yeah, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast talking to you about spooky
much.
stuff and our beliefs and favorite spiritual things. Mm-hmm. Super cool. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. You can now find us on iTunes. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. We have a Facebook page, so you can comment there if you'd like to send us any messages or anything, maybe next topics or anything like that. Feel free to like if you liked what you saw. If you want to keep watching more stuff, feel free to subscribe. Tell your friends about us.
Why do people do the squinty eyes thing when they're like pitching something like, you could go here if you want? I'm not saying you're doing it specifically. I do it too.
I feel like I was doing it.
Yeah, you were doing it.
When you said that, I was doing squinty eyes. Bye.